Blake is modest. He done raised $2.5 million in funding and grants, not just for his nonprofit, but for other nonprofit organizations, right?
Yeah.
So he is the go-to for all things funding.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
All things funding. As he said, we partner up. We're collaborating to make it. Listen, this is going to be bigger than life itself, because when two people come together who have the tools to help make you successful, not just successful, but profitable nonprofit organization, right? That's going to change the lives of your community.
Yeah.
That means you're going to be able to help more communities open up another. I always tell people today, all week I've been saying, why should the Boys Club be the only one international? Why can't you have an international nonprofit? Why can't your nonprofit be in other states, right? So, but that's taking them into their thinking. We don't want to get them there. We're going to go into.
Hey, it's some questions though already popping off.
See them. Let's pop with the questions then. Let's pop with the questions.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with I think her name is Tiff, man. So she said, this is a good question, Crystal. Can a nonprofit and a for-profit company coexist?
Yes, they can.
Yeah.
You're looking at one. You're looking at two.
Yeah. Hey, so you want to expound on that? I got some good tips for that too. You want to expound first on that?
Yeah, I'll expound first indeed, because you get into the technical stuff. I'm gonna get into the fun stuff. So I don't know what happened with Blake, but he'll be back in. Who is this? Robin, I'm at the. Let me see. I don't know what happened to Blake. Blake, where are you? Oh, there go Blake. Hello?
All right, my fault.
That's okay. Tiffany? Who's this?
Hey, I don't know. You got somebody joining the party.
But she's not saying anything, and I don't know how to move her.
What? Yeah, you hear?
Hello? Yeah, we can hear you, but we can't see you. Are you asking a question?
I think she maybe hit it by accident.
And then when I was trying to bring you in, she popped in as I hit it. Hi. Hi. Are you asking a question?
No, I don't know what happened.
That's okay. Hit the X up at the top. Hit the X at the top.
Hold on.
And it'll take you out.
Okay, hold on.
There she goes.
There she goes. She's like, I don't want to be on there.
But no, you were talking about I'll get to the technical part about for-profit.
Yes, you'll get to the tech. I waited till you came back. So when you talk about a for-profit and a nonprofit, first of all, you want to make sure that both of them are structured correctly. That's number one. You want to make sure that your nonprofit, the nonprofit in the state, and it has the 501c3 and separate bookkeeping, bank, and everything. Your for-profit, you have your for-profit the same way. Everything, they're both businesses. So don't think because one says nonprofit means no profit, for-profit means for-profit. Nonprofit means tax-exempt status, right? You're still in a service in the community, but you still can charge for those services. So you can have both, and they both can coexist, and also you can umbrella one over top of the other. Depends on what you want to do, and that we can go into detail about that on a call. But you can have, I have my nonprofit, 90 Days of Love Crisis Center, and I also have 90-day housing for women coming out of prison, which is a for-profit. So they can coexist together.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Blake, your turn.
Yeah, I was going to say, just expound a little bit on that too. You know, you can have a for-profit company that's in partnership with your nonprofit organization, right? And so people say, well, I don't want to get away from my for-profit company. I want to service my community, and I want to have this nonprofit. You can have a for-profit entity and a nonprofit organization, and they be in partnership with each other, right? You can create a service agreement, a partnership agreement, an MOU to collectively together, right? And you're signing off on both organizations. Say, hey, my nonprofit organization will be a service provider of my for-profit company, or vice versa. My for-profit company will be a service provider of my nonprofit organization, right? And so there's plenty of ways to do it. Plenty of ways to share resources from a for-profit entity with a nonprofit organization. And you can be over oversee both organizations, both the company, the for-profit company, and the nonprofit organization.
Yes. So did that answer your question? That was Tiffany, right?
Yep.
That was Tiffany. Good. Hey, Ree, can you get us that pin so we can pin it? Okay, someone says, what words of those whose business get slowed down, how do you keep it going when it's a slow reduction? What type of business is this? Are you talking about a for-profit or nonprofit? What type of business it is?
Yeah.
So, what words of those whose business gets slowed down? I'm not sure because
I mean, maybe the person's asking like, what happens in the slow season? So I would say this, right? In the for-profit world or nonprofit space, there's always slow seasons, right? They're gonna be high seasons. Baby girls coming to the room. They're gonna be high seasons for sure, right? There's gonna be times where things are gonna be slowed down, and that's why you got to make sure your funding is A1, right? You can have consistent cash flow coming in, either through funders, grantors, right, through grants, sponsorships, right? Because there are gonna be times where you actually will have times in your organizational year, calendar year, that things will be slow. So it happens all the time in businesses.
It's just like any businesses. Around January, everything slows down.
Yeah.
You know, they start laying off. People get less hours. All you got to do is make sure that your budget, everything is in place. You may need to cut back on some things, just like a regular business. Cut back. Maybe I'm driving a business car. You know what I mean? Cut back on the gas. You know, cut back on things that the nonprofit necessarily don't need to do right now, and do the things that it only needs to do. Right. Yeah. So that's why it's important to also keep a budget. So that way, when those slow seasons come, you know exactly how to sustain and having those different revenues come in. Yeah. So that was good. But we have one that says, I have a feeding program. This is Patrick. I have a feeding program and I can't get it off the ground. Okay, Patrick, do you have a nonprofit or is just a program something that you're doing? Can you come in, Patrick, first of all, because I think you need to come in live and expand on that. I don't know if Patrick is here, but Patrick, if you can request to come on so you can expand on that. But if you want to make some suggestions, Blake, to him.
Yeah, and he said yes. He did say yes. This would be a live coaching call right here, man, with Patrick.
Yes, come on, Patrick. Can you come in?
And I see the Tina Smith. We're going to get to your question, too. What can grant money be used for? And that's a good segue into our combo.
Yes. I would like to chop it up with Patrick. Patrick, you able to come in? Hit the if I request you to come on camera, are you able to come on camera? Because I think that's a good he has to request.
Yeah.
But okay, so you do have the nonprofit, the 501c3. Patrick, you need a board. Okay. It looks like you don't have a board. You probably put people down on a piece of paper just to get your status, and now you're left alone to do it. It takes a board to build a successful nonprofit organization. Can you have a nonprofit and do it by yourself? Well, that's out of compliance. If you do, you know, you want to make sure that you do have those 3 people in place. But Patrick, you need to build a board. And I think what Patrick needs to be in our 6-figure funding masterclass on March the 19th, right? We're going to really break it down on the fundamentals and how to get the funding for your organization more than one way. So we're going to answer Tina's question, and then we're going to go right into it. Blake, go ahead. What's her question?
I like Tina's. So Tina asked about what can grant money be used for, right? And I would say my initial response is like anything, right? Anything that you can think of, it could be used for. But there's 2 types of grants out there, right? There's an unrestricted grant and there's restricted grant funding. So unrestricted grant means that, hey, there's no restriction on how to utilize these dollars, right? A funder says, hey, here, Crystal, I'm giving you $50,000. It's unrestricted. It's general operating. We call it general ops, right? General operating budget. So I can use it towards salary. I can use it towards technology. I can use it for transportation, travel, contract employees. It's unrestricted. Then you have restricted funding, which could be restricted to a program. It could be restricted to a city, so you can't move those dollars outside of your state. So like maybe you have a state-specific program, like, hey, these dollars are earmarked to the state of Georgia, but then you also working with maybe Tennessee as well. And like, so you can't move those dollars in Tennessee, because those dollars are restricted to the state of Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have two different categories, restricted and unrestricted. The other thing is what you can use the money for is once everything you put in that budget, right? So every grantor that you go to is going to request a budget.
Yeah.
It's going to say, hey, Crystal, you know, your nonprofit, you want to do something for young ladies, right? Through your 90-day program. I need an itemized budget of what do you plan on spending those dollars for,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it could be salary. It could be for benefits. It could be, again, transportation, food, technology, social media platforms, marketing, operations, printing, T-shirts, whatever you can think about in your budget, you can include it as long as it's in your budget. Because at the end of the day, the
Mm-hmm.
grantor, the people that gave you the money, going to say, hey, Crystal, I need a report. And I need you to give me an itemized budget, your itemized budget on how you spent the funds,
Yeah.
right? And this is live right now. So tomorrow's what, the 14th, the 15th, I got
14th.
a grant report due, right? Actually, for my nonprofit, I had a grant report due. And the funder says, we gave you X amount of dollars. How much have you spent of that X amount of dollars? And what did you spend those dollars on? So they want to know if I spent $20,000 on hiring new staff, $50,000 on, you know, developing the program, because maybe I have a planning budget in my budget or line item in my budget. And so they're saying, hey, Blake, we want to know how you spent the dollars, what other total dollars you spent for your overall budget. And actually, too, have you raised any more money to support your program for sustainability purposes, right? And so what can you use the money for? Anything that's in the budget that you included in your grant proposal.
Good. That's good. So we have one before Tina's second question. She says, what are the board members' qualifications? Well, the ones that the IRS requires is a president, right? So you want to make sure that you're a leader, right? And that you are a person of integrity and that you have some background of moving things forward, right? Moving things forward, that you're not the one that, because you can have people have a passion but don't have leadership. So you want to make sure that you're a leader. So they look for a president, they look for a secretary. Now you don't want someone who you know is not a secretary, can't type, can't write, can't do nothing, right? Can't do anything. You don't want someone who cannot do that. So you want a qualified secretary. And we do documents. So we're able to print out the documents, what the qualifications, the position of a secretary. And you wanted someone who knows finances, treasurer. You don't want someone who just know how to work at Walmart and don't even count cash. They stand there at the register, right? We don't use cash that much. But you don't want someone who works at a grocery store. You want someone who really has some type of accounting, bookkeeping, banking experience as a treasurer. Because if you're planning on growing, remember, a profitable nonprofit organization, you're going to need to make sure he got your records in and everything's in order and in compliance, so you don't get in trouble with the IRS. So you don't want just anybody, money coming in, you're not know where it's going, how much is spent out, what something costs, everything all over the place. You want to make sure that you have a qualified secretary and a qualified accounting treasurer on your board. And then the rest of the board members, vice president, community, but it all grows from there. But those are the three most important ones. The president as the founder, that you have some leader. If you're not a leader, take some leadership classes, right? Start developing yourself as a leader, right? To being able to manage people, because you're going to have to manage the board. So take some classes on that. Don't just have a passion. I had to take classes. I had to go learn, right? Because we can't be in a group of people expecting them to follow us and we don't have any clue where we're going.
Yeah.
We have no clue, right? We're clueless. We don't have to get there or anything. So you want to definitely join my class, my impact circle, of course, right? You definitely want to get in that.
Yeah.
And, but you definitely want a secretary with experience and a treasurer, definitely with some type of bookkeeping, financial, treasurer, money, background experience.
Yeah.
So I hope I answered your questions, Tiffany. Anything else, Blake, for her?
Our last question was, can I get more than one budget at a time? So I will, and this kind of segues again to our conversation for today too. The answer is yes, right? So when you look at a budget, right, there's an organizational budget. So Crystal has a nonprofit, and she wants to work with young ladies. She may have multiple programs. She may do multiple events. She may have multiple initiatives or offers, etc. But Crystal has one organizational budget. So all the programs she do, all the events she do, all the initiatives she has goes in this full organizational budget. So let's say Crystal budget for even numbers is $100,000, right? Of that $100,000, Crystal may say, hey, I have a program I do in the fall to kick off school semester, make sure my young ladies have, back to school clothes. So she has a budget for that item. Then she has a programmatic budget. She may be doing etiquette, wraparound service for young women throughout the semester. That's another budget. And then she may have something in the springtime, and then of course in the summer. So she has all these different things that she's doing throughout the calendar year. That's a programmatic budget, again, initiative budget, etc. And then she adds all those numbers up together, and that's her collective organizational budget. So when you're writing funding, right, Crystal may be writing a grant just for one program or one initiative, right, to support maybe one staff member to pay for their salary, right? So there's general operating grants out there. So Crystal may say, I'm going to stack my dollars. I'm giving y'all the game now. I'm going to stack my grant dollars, my fundraising, my sponsorship dollars collectively to get to that $100,000 organizational budget, right? And so you can't have more than one budget. You need to have more than one budget because you need to be able to itemize and segment out all the things that your nonprofit organization is offering to your community and figure out what is that bottom line cost per everything that you do.
Awesome. Now we got Patrick coming live with us. You ready?
Okay.
Okay. Patrick say he's gonna come up here and talk. Let's get Patrick in. Go ahead and accept Patrick.
There you go.
Okay, there you go. Hello.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Patrick.
Good. How you doing, sir?
I'm awesome. Hey, I started a nonprofit, and it's called KO Kids Feeding Program, After School Feeding Program. And I have a young lady that's a grant writer, but it seems like every time she's trying to help me, it's always about handing money to her, and I'm not getting anywhere. So I'm kind of like lost. I'm passing out money, but I'm not being able to get it.
So, Patrick, I'm going to ask you one quick question. When you're writing those grants for you, are you having any documentation from those grant applications or getting any feedback from the grantor you're submitting the application to?
No.
Okay. So I don't like to say red flags, but I'm asking questions. Right? Yeah. So you're not getting do you have like a checklist that you're currently going through to make sure the funding opportunity you're applying for is aligned with your organization's mission and vision?
No, I don't.
Okay. So I'll say those first two things, right? I'm not gonna go to three, but those two first things I start with and Crystal start with too. Like, so when you're writing grants and trying to go for funding, it's not like, hey, Patrick, I see this funding opportunity. You got $100,000 they're going to give out to nonprofits that's feeding young men and women. It's like, okay, is mission aligned with my organization, right? And we do this whole process called being grant ready, because they're going to be it's a lot of money out there for you as a nonprofit. You want to make sure you're looking at not the funding parties for the organization, but also ensuring that grant writer I'm giving you a lot of stuff. That grant writer is extracting everything from that grant application for you. So like what we do is we have a spreadsheet. We look at the spreadsheet and we say, okay, these are the items that we need to make sure we cross-reference from the actual application, from the project proposal that we're submitting. And then making sure we're also talking with the funder. Like, has she set up any meetings with you to potentially talk to some of the funders to make sure like it's aligning from this grant cycle?
Red flag. Okay. Red flag. Patrick, I'm gonna need you to get
so that's another thing. So Patrick, I think a good gym, the next grant opportunity you look for, this is why I tell anybody, right, is usually a grantor has people that they work for, right? So like people under their umbrella. So let's say if I go to the Atlanta, I'm just throwing the name, Atlanta Community Foundation. They have a program coordinator, they have a grant coordinator, et cetera. They have a director of strategic planning. I would look at who's the contact person on that list that's under that grant cycle, and I will email them, say, hey, my name is Patrick. I have an after-school program. I would love to have 15 minutes with you Zoom to see about your next grant cycle, to explain what my program offers, to see if it's a good alignment for this next funding cycle. Okay. Because one, that saves you some time, that saves you some money, and it may be not this cycle to work with. And then they say, hey, Patrick, I like your ideas. How you thought about this? Or our funding cycle is really focused on this priority right now. Okay, well, can you refer me to another community foundation or to another organization that's out there that may be more aligned with us? And they're like, yeah, let me ping you with somebody else. And people that are giving out grants, they love to talk to people because they want to make sure they're supporting the right organizations, because it's really in partnership with, right? You're in partnership with that nonprofit. And so the biggest thing is you want to make sure you have that grant readiness checklist with your grant writer. You want to make sure you have the feedback from the grant you submitted, because every grant has an evaluation rubric. And so they should be sending you, Patrick, like, hey, on a scale of 1 to 5, you got a 2 out of this section. And so now moving forward, you're like, okay, I know I need to improve this section of my application to strengthen it for my next grant that I apply for. And so those are the big things I thought about when you said that.
Yes. Now, Patrick, let me ask you a question. What state are you in?
I'm in Texas.
Oh, you're in Texas? Okay, we got a couple people in Texas. Now, do you have a working board?
Yes, I do.
Okay, you have a working board of how many?
3.
Are they donating on a monthly basis themselves?
No.
Okay.
And it's because we just came out of the gate with an idea. We have a building. We have our website. And, of course, we know the paperwork for the 501. But once we got to the point of just having that, we don't have anything else. We don't know which road to go down.
Got you. I got you, Patrick. You definitely need to make sure you register. And I love this because you're right there where I have a lot of founders in your area. So, but make sure you register for our 6-figure funding secrets that we're doing on March the 19th. The link should be inside of not just DM funding, so we can get you into that community, because you already had your 501c3. And it's also going to put you, when you come through this, we're going to give you that day some keys and some checkpoints that you need to make sure you have for your nonprofit organization. Get your board on there. Get them registered so that they can get the information as well, because it takes a board to advance the mission, not just you. They're to be out there getting funding, raising funding, and giving funding to the organization too. So think about this, Patrick, whenever you're doing something. If you came to me and asked me for money, I asked you for money. I came to ask you for money. And then you say to me, well, have your husband gave, or have your family given, or have your, and I'm like, no. Then what does that gives a red flag, right? If the people around you, the board, is not supporting the organization, then how can we ask somebody else to give, right? We have to be the first donors to the nonprofit organization. Okay, but I'm going to show you how to build and get that board working and advancing your mission. So DM the word funding and let's get you going, because listen, those kids need them lunches and breakfasts in the summertime. I know. I used to be one of those kids. Yes.
Okay. Well, I'll definitely get on board, and I'll join the class on the 19th.
Awesome. See you soon.
So much.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. That was a good one. Good one. Patrick's like, I'm coming in. Patrick, I think you put the X up top. Any more questions in there?
No, I think
oh, here goes somebody. I would know this is a nonprofit. I know this is a nonprofit conversation, but I would like to know for-profit companies should have a board. Your for-profit, it depends on how you're building your structure of your business, right? Like if it's a company, a business, or a company. So it depends on the structure.
Yeah, and it depends on the structure. It depends on if you're going to have equity, have board members take out equity, they're investors. There's a lot of different things on the for-profit side, right? So if you think about, you want your company one day to go public, right? You go through the whole process of like pre-seed, Series A, Series B, Series C, like those venture capitalists. You want to have a board, right? And so if you're a for-profit company where you want to have millions of dollars of investment and from investors to have some equity in the company, you definitely want to get a board in place. But Crystal knows everything about the nonprofit board for sure.
Yes, the nonprofit board. I don't have a board on my business. When we turn into a company, we're definitely going to have board, because I'm going to be a national. So I am going to get stockholders and boards, but that's a whole different monster. So you definitely want to seek counseling on that.
Yeah.
We have a question on the Facebook. Dr. Yolanda says, is there a checklist that we can use to know? Well, Dr. Yolanda is inside the Impact Circle. So yes, Dr. Yolanda, as you come through your purpose planner. Now, let me tell you, Dr. Yolanda, since she joined, she be like this.
Yeah.
She going 100 to get this nonprofit up. So yes, Dr. Yolanda, there is a checklist for you. Let me see. What's the next question?
Yeah, we got all the questions today.
Should the nonprofit be in a business for any length of time to get funding? Yes. I mean, anything should be, and even a for-profit business should be in business before somebody makes sales, right? You got to start off. People got to get to know you, know your product. And then also, those become the things you really get to figure it out, right? So when you first start off, you probably, branded a T-shirt. But that T-shirt oil runs, and the thing, the ink wasn't good, or the people you got it from. So there are some bumps that you got to go through. You get board members. They come on, they don't want to do nothing. Now you got to get new board members. Your track record. So there are some things that a nonprofit should be doing in the community to show social proof, right? I call it social proof because that's how I got well known in my community. Everything I was doing was on social media. When they, when I was doing my events, the 5K, the gala, the book bag drive, the giving away the coats, everything was on social media, right? So I was showing social proof that I was in my community.
Yeah.
When you get your 501c3, the first time you get it, don't mean you're going to be ready for grants. That don't qualify you to grants to have a 501c3. They want to at least see 3 years on your nonprofit. That's why I tell people, don't wait to start it. Get that Secretary of State up now, right? Your nonprofit in your state, because that's the date they're going to go by. So that's a nugget right there. Anybody on here, you thinking about starting a nonprofit organization, you definitely don't know how to do the 501c3 paperwork, but you can register in your state because that is going to tell the IRS that's when you started your nonprofit.
Yeah.
Right? Anything else, Blake?
No, I would say too, I mean, like Crystal said, there's ways that you can get funding for sure. Crystal said too, I know when she started off, her board raised dollars for her to join a class. I won a competition to receive funding to get my tax status for my nonprofit. So yes, there are ways you can get money starting out. I'm gonna give some secrets away in the master class for sure.
Yes.
Like how you position yourself as a brand new nonprofit to be able to get some of that funding starting out, because there are people out there that want to support brand new nonprofit organizations, right?
Yes.
But there's some things you have to put in place and put yourself in position to receive those funds, because they're just not relatively out there all the time.
Right.
And so yeah.
Yeah. Because that would be crazy if they were just out there, grants are just floating in the sky, it was automatically given to you. I think it would do a false hope for a lot of nonprofits. If in the beginning they were getting grants, but they had no stability. They didn't know how to sustain themselves. So that would be false hope. You would be able to do one thing in the community and then you collapse because that was the only grant that you got.
Yeah. But
being able to sustain yourself long term is the key that even grantors look for. What else are you doing? Where else are you getting funds from? If we don't give you this grant, how are you going to be able to complete the program?
Yeah.
So someone says, for Black men CEOs, it's totally hard for grants. I'm finding it really hard. So okay, go ahead, Blake.
I would say, I wouldn't put a gender with it. I would just say Black-led nonprofits in general is a lot harder to receive funding, right? There's the nonprofits that are led by Black and brown individuals disproportionately are underfunded than majority other organizations, right? So it's not just, I would say not just Black men, right? But there's ways to change that, right? And there's ways to change that. Partnerships are really key, especially the brand new nonprofit, right? But Crystal talks about it all the time, like being clear, having clarity, being really focused on what you're in a niche that you're serving, right? Make sure your mission and vision is very clear, and the population that you're targeting really makes a big difference. Because I know for myself, when I first started out, people weren't funding my organization because I was just all over the place, right? I was trying to address a huge need in education, right? And it's still an issue right now of like getting more Black men in education. And they were like, Blake, how does it look like? Oh, we're going to do this high school program. We're going to do this collegiate program. We're going to do this professional-based program. We're going to do these college tours and these recruitment. And it was like, okay. So I know for sure, outside of the issue right now of Black-led nonprofits are not really getting invested into, there's also this problem of like Black leaders that are CEOs in the nonprofit space, especially small startup nonprofits, are just don't have really clarity, right? And they don't know how to ensure, like we just talked with Patrick, right? Understand how to be grant ready, like how to make sure you find the right partners, how to find the right people on your team that's going to assist you to make sure that when somebody does come up and say, hey, I have, Crystal says, like a $250,000 or $350,000 contract to subcontract you under or sub-grant you under, that you're ready to go, right? And so I always talk about, man, being put in position and being grant ready for opportunities to come up. But I say this, grants are not just free money, right? It's going to take some, it's going to take some work. It's going to take
say
some
that
track
again,
record that
say that again.
It's not free money. It is definitely earned. It's not given. And again, having a good story about your nonprofit, having your documents in order, having partnerships, having a full understanding of what your program and project will look like under that grant cycle is really important. And when you don't do those things really well, no one's going to give you $100,000, $250,000, or $1 million because they feel like, well, if I don't understand what you're saying in this proposal, and there's no clarity of how you're articulating it, I don't feel comfortable giving you my money. Yeah. Right. And so. Yeah. MOU is a memorandum of understanding. The MOU is like a partnership agreement that you have with other organizations or service providers. Yeah.
It's not a contract. It's just a partnership agreement. So you hear some people say, "Oh, I did an MOU. He got it." Nah, that's not a contract. It's just almost like a handshake.
Yeah.
It's almost like a handshake, but those are things that grantors need. I'm a startup nonprofit, and I've been starting a fund from my own pocket that I've been gifting out once per month. But my question is, should I get my EIN number for my nonprofit first? No. So you say you are a startup nonprofit. So the first thing that you want to do, you don't want to get your EIN number first. And the reason why is because the state has not said that your name is available. So you have to register your name in the state first. Once you register your name in the state first, and they send you back that articles of corporation saying that your name, yay, you've been registered as a nonprofit in the state, then you go get the free EIN number, but not before. I have people do that, and then they get the name, and they say, oh, the name's not available. They can't use the name because you can't use the same name as another nonprofit. That's why you have to put it in the system for them to search it to see if anybody else have that name. So you definitely want to first register in the state, wait 5 to 7 days. It'll come back in your email saying you have been approved as a nonprofit in your state. Then you can go to the IRS and get the EIN number. And let me tell you one thing about this. Whenever you register your name on any state registration, you're going to start getting stuff in the mail. Don't freak out. Don't pay that. No. The IRS, the Secretary of State will always email you. That's why they ask you for your email. Anything else in the state is because you register and other people see that, and then they started saying you owe this amount of money, you got to send this amount of money, and now you're freaking out like, I still got to send it. And let me tell you, 9 out of times people send the money because they don't know. So if you get anything in the mail from the Secretary of State after you register, do not pay it. You do not owe it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I
hope that helped you out.
Yeah, and that's why, Chris, you just brought another good point. And that's why it's so important too, because if you're getting that stuff in the mail, you don't want your personal address on your business documentation. Yeah. You want to get a business address. It can be a virtual, remote, satellite, whatever the case may be. You want to make sure you have a business address that the mail goes to, because that information is now public records
Yes.
for your business. And so you don't want to see your apartment complex number, your mailing, your personal house address on those documents, because now everybody's gonna be sending you stuff, because your information is now on the Secretary of State's website, and anybody can search your business right now.
Yeah. That's so true, because I don't think people think about that when they start their nonprofit. That it is public knowledge with their address, so they don't think about getting. Because I know I didn't.
Yeah,
I didn't think about that in the beginning. I was like, oh well, I want the mail to come to me. I want all this stuff to come to me, but now I'm like, oh wait, so I have a business address for the nonprofit and for my business. They're two separate ones, but I have both addresses for those. And it's what you want it to be, where somewhere you can get the mail.
Yeah.
If something comes, if your bank account or anything like that. So you definitely want to get a virtual business address for your nonprofit as well. So that was good, Blake. That was good. Can it be a P.O. box? No.
Yeah,
it cannot be a P.O. box. The IRS would not.
Yeah, and it would get rejected anyway.
It would get rejected.
Yeah,
it
like
cannot
if you type it in the system, it's going to say, we don't set P.O. boxes, right? I like iPostal. This is my gym. I like iPostal. It's on my checklist. iPostal is really cool. You can look at any address in your city. It's usually sometimes it's a FedEx, printing shop, or whatever the case may be. Like people like Regis. There's plenty of different virtual addresses out there, but iPostal I like because it has a mobile application. They scan in the mail to you. You can they don't open the mail. They just scan the outside so you can see who it's from. But there's plenty of apps out there like that right now. So I would just Google, remote P.O. box, well, not P.O. boxes, remote addresses for small businesses in your community and city, and see what pops up. But I use iPostal, and I use it for my business bank accounts, my nonprofit organization. So it's really cool. So if you don't have a brick and mortar office space, use a virtual.
Yep, that's it. Oh, you're welcome, Tiffany. Hey, Tiffany, are you registering for the Impact Circle?
Yeah.
Tiffany got some good gems on here tonight.
Yeah, she getting all of it.
So we got 15 more minutes. Yeah, well, not 15. We got 5 more minutes. But guys, real quick, if you haven't registered for our 6-figure funding secrets on March the 19th, DM the word funding. If you have your 501c3, you definitely want to DM the word funding so you can register for that masterclass. It's going to be off the chain. We're going to come in blazing, giving you all the tips. But I know Blake wanted to give you guys at least 5.
Yeah, I got 5. And I can do 1 a minute.
Strategies. In 1 minute, he's going to give it to you.
I'm going to give you 5 1 minute per one. So the first one is board members. So I know we talk about it a lot. If people don't understand the power of your board. And so Crystal just gave a good example to Patrick. Like, hey, when you first starting off your nonprofit, you want to have a board in place that's we call it either give or get. Either going to give you some monthly contributions to support the nonprofit and help it be sustainable, or they're going to try to go get the bag for you, right? So they're going to go out to the community and help you raise the money through their network, right? Through their community, and they're going to support the organization. So I definitely say first strategy is having a board, because they're going to help you raise the dollars either through grants, sponsorship, donations, their corporate organizations. There are a lot of times where people can do match giving. So I work for a corporate employer. They're going to match my donations for my organization. So board member is the first one. The second one, man, if people don't like to use it sometimes, Google is my best friend. And now anybody right now, once you get off this live, all you have to do is Google community foundation grants for your city. So it could be community foundation grants for Indianapolis, community foundations for LA, Chicago, New York. Just type in that, and it's going to be a list of community foundations. The reason I say that, you want to start local first. Oftentimes when we start the grant process and we want to find the dollars, we're like, I want to go to the state level. I want to go to the federal level. I see the federal government, they're giving all this money out. And that's true. They are giving money out. But as a brand new nonprofit, the federal grant is a beast. The federal grant process is a beast. The state level process is a beast, because the states are a sub-grantee of federal dollars, right? And so sometimes the requirements and the paperwork is a lot more extraneous going through the state level than is the federal level. But both of those processes are monsters. So I would say start local, your local organizations in your community that's willing to invest in community-based organizations that are in their backyard. So Google community foundation grants. It's not going to take you that long to do it. That's my third point. LinkedIn. If you don't do Google, go on LinkedIn. I have found $100,000 grant via LinkedIn, and we actually got awarded it last year, so around December. And go into LinkedIn tonight while you sit on your phone on social media, type in the search engine grant opportunities. Type in the search engine grant applications. Put them in quotation marks. Then do the last 24 hours and then look up the post. And then you're going to see people that are just posting about grant opportunities, grant applications. They're going to tell you the deadline. They're going to tell you what you need to do. They're going to give you the link to directly apply. And granted, this is national grant, so you want to make sure you have to go through the different people that post. But you never know what you'll find on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is the professional network, right? So you got your director of community engagement, your VP of strategic planning, your VP of corporate responsibility on LinkedIn posting about their opportunities, right? And so you have to go to LinkedIn. For the IRS, and people are like, what do you mean by the IRS? Every nonprofit has to submit, once they start bringing in revenue, at least a 990, right? And on that 990, nonprofits are showcasing and have to state where they're getting these dollars from. So like maybe Crystal got a grant from the Walmart Foundation, the Walton Foundation. Or she got a grant from Amazon or Google, whatever the case may be, right? And Crystal is going to say, like, these are the organizations that have funded me in this past year. And so you look at, and these are 990s are public information. So one thing about being a nonprofit, a lot of your information is public anyway. So people can look at your 990s and see what you have raised. They can look at who has supported you, who have donated to you. But if you look at those 990s, I will start with organizations that are similar to mine, right? So if you are an organization that are doing things around, women, foster care, doing things about, like Pat was on, talk about providing meals to young people, right? Look at other organizations that are doing similar work. Look on the IRS website, pull up their 990s and see what organizations have donated to them in the past. And then that will help you figure out, okay, maybe I need to target this foundation because they had donated to organizations similar to mine in my same community, right?
Yeah.
Four. This is four. The fourth one, I gave you, four is I'm gonna give you six. Yeah. So this is my fourth one. It's really my fifth one.
This is
state agencies. Yeah, this is my fifth one. So state agencies. So Department of Education, Department of Transportation, right? When you think about going to the state level and getting grants, you think about it, there's RFP process, request for proposals, right? Process that you can go through state agencies. So like the Commission for Higher Education, Department of Education, Department of Transportation, Department of Workforce Development. There's a lot of state funding going around. Once you have your tax exemption status and you're a nonprofit and you're a service provider, now you can be a vendor under the state, which is a whole other process.
Dropping some gems on tonight.
Yeah. So now you'll be
Don't
a big.
get down.
So yeah. So we got plenty. This is a lot. We got some more from the class, but once you be a vendor with the state, there's always these bids that come out, right? And people are like, man, like, how do I find these opportunities, these funny opportunities outside of grants? Sometimes they're just state bids. The same way you want to go to the federal government, there are bids just for nonprofits, right? And then the last one this is my sixth, so I'll give you one more, my bonus one. School districts. People always say schools don't have money. Building level schools may not have money. So if you go to the school down the street and you're like, my kid's school, like I go to the principal, like, hey, can you adopt my program? Like, well, it's not in our budget. And they probably are telling the truth. It's probably not in their budget. But you have to remember, a school district is a business and they just outsource to vendors. So think about the cafeteria food that they eat, right? Sometimes the janitorial service, right? The people that do the building infrastructure for the buildings. And so all those things are usually outsourced. And so when they bring in new programs, the technology they use, all those different things are outsourced. So now, as your nonprofit, you don't want to go to the school itself, the elementary school, high school. You go to the district office and say, hey, I want to go to the Office of Procurement. Maybe just Google your school district name or charter school name and say the Office of Procurement. What that means is the Office of Procurement, the people that procure vendors that will provide services to their school district. And so you say, hey, I want to learn how to be an actual official vendor of this school district. They say, okay, here's the paperwork. You fill it out. And now instead of you going trying to find the bid opportunities or the grant opportunities, now they're sending you these opportunities directly, right?
Yeah.
And so I would definitely start with the schools. And it's a process too. It's still an application process because now you're bidding against other businesses, but you're not going to see the information unless you're an approved vendor with the school. And that's the only way that you're going to get paid too. Because the first thing a principal is going to say is, hey, you know, are you a vendor with our school district? And you're like, oh, no, I'm not. Well, I can't pay you your fee for your contract if you're not approved vendor with our school district. So I always say start with the school districts too. I say going through the back door. So people oftentimes go to the front door, go to the building principal, pitch their idea, send them a proposal, and they're like, I'd love to work with you, but I can't do anything because it's not in my budget. Now you tell them, okay, well, I need to go to the district. You're not going behind their back.
Right.
You're going to the people that are making the decisions that have the budget. And every school, my last thing, every school has an annual budget. And you need to talk with your school to see, school district, not the school district to see when are they resetting that budget. Usually it's coming in the summertime, like usually like June 1 going to July, right? They're setting that new fiscal year, calendar year budget for the school district. And if you have a nice program, you want to ask them, how can I be incorporating that budget? If you have $3 million for Title I funding, or you have X amount of dollars to support after school program, and man, Crystal Durham, you got a great after school program for young ladies. Hey, here's my number. This is what I can do for 12 weeks, a semester, whatever the case may be. Awesome. Send me the proposal. Write the numbers down. You already approved vendor. We're good to go.
Yeah, you dropped some gem right now.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. I'm going to repeat what you said, but I had some, want to say thank you to BK family for buying a badge. We appreciate you. Shout out to you. Thank you so much for showing some love. And also, Mr. GT Oliver, you want to get to nonprofit structure? I am your go-to. I structure nonprofit 501c3s. Go ahead and DM me. Let's jump on a call. Say, hey, Crystal, I've seen you live. I would like to jump on a call with you, and my team will send you my calendar. Yeah, let's get that nonprofit structure. Now, here goes some of the gems, guys. He gave us 6, but I think he gave us 7. He said, number 1, these are his tips for funding. Board. Make sure your board is structured and is advancing the mission and given, right? So your board is important. Having the right board in place, right? Because your board is supposed to get or give. If they can't give it, they need to go get it, right?
Get it for you.
Number 2, Google. Google is your best friend. But I understand, though, because sometimes Google can be so difficult, right, when it comes to funding and things like that. That's why they need somebody like you and I that can understand the language when they do Google, right? Yeah. LinkedIn. Listen, he just shared how he went and got a grant off of LinkedIn. We had some people inside of my impact circle who went on LinkedIn. I'm going to get on LinkedIn. I'm going to have somebody manage that because I ain't got time. But I'm going to put my nonprofit up on LinkedIn and start sharing and writing articles. But LinkedIn is looking for your nonprofit.
Yeah, and then he says Instagram is for the show, LinkedIn is for the dough.
Oh, there
you go. Instagram's for the show, LinkedIn is for the dough. So if you want to find the dough, it's on LinkedIn.
So Google, I think Google community founders in your city, right? Google community founders in your city, LinkedIn, IRS your 990, making sure it is correct up on it so people can see. Some people are going to ask you for your 990, right? Or they can go up and see it on their state agencies. I love that because when you think about it, we always want to go straight to the Fed, the IRS, but there are state agencies right here in our community. And one of the biggest things we miss, we want to help youth, but we're not going into the school. How are we helping youth? Well, we're not thinking about going to the school district and proposing what we're looking to do. So when you think about it, remember during the pandemic, when everybody was home, the school was providing lunch. You just had to go to the schools and get the lunch with your kids in the car, pick up the bags and everything. Well, how do you think that was funded? That was funded, right? And so if the schools have these funds for different programs, but they don't know your program exists, right? A lot of school districts want to fund summer school programs. So when I used to work for a nonprofit, we would set up lunches in the summertime at motels, right? We would go put a table up. The kids would come out and eat in the park, play little activities with them. We would go to different parks. So we had about 4 or 5 locations we would go set up lunch for and get paid through the school district, through the state, right? So think about those programs. And he said every single school has a budget. And that budget is to meet the needs of the young people. Man, you dropped some gems on tonight. I didn't know he's going to come like that with them. I thought you was going to talk about Krispy Kreme coupons and so. You came.
Hey, I'm going to give him all the sauce, man, because like I said, man, if I'm giving this away for free, man, I'm make sure the master class got some. It's going to be some nice stuff going on in the master
class. Listen, guys, if you are not in the master class, if you have not clicked that link or hit DM funding, right, to attend our 6-figure funding masterclass secrets, we're going to give you guys all the, can you save this live? We'll see what our team does. They do put it out. They do go in and cop it up. We'll see what they do because this was powerful tonight. I'm sorry you're late, love, but we great sign up. But we'll be back here tomorrow, right?
Tomorrow.
We'll be back here tomorrow, dropping some more gems all the way up into the 19th. But seats are almost full. We're Gary cut it off, so you guys better get in now. So DM the word funding to attend our 6-figure funding secrets masterclass. This is our first one, man. You know we're going to be putting it in. We're going to put y'all the work. So don't think you coming into this masterclass and you ain't going to do no work. Now, we're going to give you guys some deliverables that you're going to be able to do yourself. We're not puffing it up. We're not making it something you can't do. You ain't going to, no, we're going to give you some deliverables that you're going to be able to take immediate action.
Yeah.
Right? Immediate action. So, you guys, Blake, you got anything else? I ain't got nothing else. I'm done.
I ain't got nothing else, man. I ain't got nothing else. And I think the biggest thing we're going to share in the masterclass is like, I love going to master classes and people are actually giving me tangible things that I can walk away with and go run to play.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's my biggest thing. Like, I'm not trying to give you these high fluff stuff like, oh, this is what you should. Like, I'm going to tell you the same things that me and Crystal are doing right now for our nonprofits that's helping us raise a lot of money to serve a lot of people. I'm giving you the straight game, right? And I think that's my biggest thing for anybody. And the strategies that helped me win some big grants, right? Multiple 6-figure grants, helping a lot of big clients out to get corporate